We will see Java technical question and answers for interview part 3. The topic is multithreading. That is, multithreading concept has been split into part 1 and part 2 again. So, in this video, I'll cover part 1. What is the process in Java? A program which is under execution is called as a process. So, the program is nothing but a source code, what we write, and then we interpret it and we get the final output. So, the intermediate interpretation where a program is going through is nothing but an execution stage is called as a process. What is multithreading in Java? Multithreading in Java is a programming concept that allows process to create and execute multiple threads independently, but concurrently sharing the processes resources. So one process can be divided into a sub-process. Sub-process is called as a thread. With that, one process can divide multiple threads based on the process memory. So each thread will be allocating some tasks and all threads will be running parallelly so that the execution will be disturbed. So what is multitasking in Java? Multitasking in Java is the ability of a program to perform multiple tasks simultaneously. So one program doing many tasks parallelly is called as multitasking. What is process-based multitasking in Java? Process-based multitasking involves executing multiple independent processes simultaneously. So there were so many processes which are running parallelly. Then that particular concept has been called as process-based multitasking. What is thread-based multitasking in Java? Thread-based multitasking involves creating and managing lightweight subprocesses called threads within a program to execute tasks concurrently. So one program is converted into a process. That process can have a number of threads. So each thread will be allocating some job. So that's why it's called a lightweight subprocess. And all could run parallelly, that is concurrently, so that we can do our job faster. So one process, number of threads. What is a thread in Java? Thread is a lightweight process that runs independently within a program. So since thread is a part of the process and thread is taking small number of resources or less number of resources, then we call it as a lightweight process. What is the main advantage of multithreading in Java? Improved program performance, that is execution speed is increased by utilizing multiple CPUs. Since all are running parallelly, then obviously the process is going to get completed within less time. And the CPU utilization has also been up to the maximum. What are the possible ways to create a thread in Java? So we have basically two ways to create a thread. One is by extending thread class, and the other way is by implementing runnable interface. When a Java program starts up, which thread begins running immediately? Main thread. So by default, every program will be having a single thread is running. It's called a main thread. So whenever your program is started, immediately the main thread gets running. Why main thread is important in multithreading? The main thread is important for two reasons. It is a thread from which other child threads will be spawned, that is derived or created. Second point says that often it must be the last thread to finish execution because it performs very few actions. So the main thread is the starting point, and from there on the child threads can be created. And finally, the main thread should be the last thread to close because it performs some shutdown operations or releasing of the resources. Before that, the child threads need to be closing their tasks. Then only the main thread can close. Which method is used to obtain the reference of the current thread? There is a method called current thread, which gives the reference to the currently running thread because so many number of threads will be running. So in order to identify which thread is currently running, basically we can apply a method called current thread. Which method is used to obtain thread's name? So we have a method called getName, which is going to give the thread name. Which method is used to determine if the thread is still running? There is a method called isAlive. So if you write like thread object dot isAlive, it returns true or false value. True means the thread is still running, false means the thread is not running. Which method is used to wait for a thread to terminate? So we have a method called join. Whenever a particular thread has completed its task, it needs to wait for some other threads also to finish that job. So the join method is going to help out in order to wait for a thread to terminate. Which method is known as the entry point for the thread? There is a single method called run method, which is the entry point for the thread. So the execution is starting from the run method to the thread. Which method is used to suspend the thread for a period of time? So there is a sleep method. The sleep method is accepting in milliseconds as a time for which it gets suspended, and after the milliseconds has been over, it again resumes back to the same position. So suppose we give 500 milliseconds, the 500 need to come down to zero. And obviously, the thread which has been in sleeping mode will be activated. Which method is used to start a thread by calling its run method? There is a method called start method. So the start method is going to call internally the run method for the execution. We need not call run method directly. If you call start method, the start method takes care to call the run method of the thread. Which method is used to set the name for the thread? We have a method called set name, and we can assign the thread name as a parameter for the set name. To implement runnable interface, class need to implement which method? So the class need to implement run method because run method is one of the abstract method. Only run method is existing in the runnable interface. So that particular run method needs to be compulsorily implemented by a class whenever you want to create a thread by using runnable interface. Java thread states. So here we have some states of a thread. The first is new state. When a new thread is created, it is in the new state. That means whenever you create the object of a particular thread class, then it will be in the new state. Then runnable state. A thread is ready to run, is moved to a runnable state. So whenever the thread is ready to execute, then we can put into a state called runnable state. Running state, in this state, a thread is actually running. So from the runnable state, we move a thread to the running state. Block the state, fourth one. The thread will be in a blocked state when it is trying to acquire a lock, but currently the lock is acquired by other thread. The thread will move from the blocked state to runnable state when it acquires a lock. So whenever you are trying to wait for some resources, uh, basically we try to put that particular thread into a blocked state, and once they acquire the resource again, it comes in runnable state. Waiting state, the thread will be in the waiting state when it calls wait method or join method. So here the threads will be waiting for some other threads to complete the task and join for the final output. Timed waiting state. The thread lies in a timed waiting state when it calls a method with a timed out parameter. So in sleep method, we reduce in milliseconds. So once the milliseconds are been over, obviously thread gets activated. So here based on the time, it has been waiting. Terminated state. A thread will release resources and then finally the terminate state will work where the release of resource can be. So these are few states of the thread goes on. Thank you.